Before the start of the podcast webcast, remember to register to the link available in the official PubMed of Usapang e-LITe in our Facebook group and pinned in the comment section of our Facebook Live. This podcast webcast is under fair use. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, commenting, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. All rights and credit go directly to its rightful owners. No copyright infringement intended. The views and opinions expressed are strictly those of the hosts and participants, and do not reflect the views of the faculty, organizations, and the university.
Naitanong mo na ba kung bakit isang metro ang layo natin sa iba ngayong may pandemya? Pero gano'n nga ba kalayong isang metro? Kung hindi pa, bakit hindi mo ako samahan na lakabayin ang kwentong ito mula sa Chikiting Stories na pinamagata ang isang metro? Tara na sa panibagong episode ng Usapang e-LITe na tatalakay sa science literature.
Magandang araw! Naitanong mo na ba kung bakit isang metro ang layo natin sa iba ngayong may pandemya? Pero, gaano nga ba kalayo ang isang metro? Kung hindi pa, bakit hindi mo ko samahang lakbayin ang kwentong ito mula sa Chikiting Stories na pinamagatang Isang Metro, kwentong pambata ukol sa COVID-19. Ito ay isinulat ni Kate Del Rosario at kinuwid ni Dandin Espina. Tara, magsimula na tayo magbasa. Gaano mo ba kalayo ang isang metro, nanay? Tanong ni Ella kay Aling Marie isang umaga. Bakit mo naman natanong, anak? Sagot ni Aling Marie habang naghahanda ng almusal. Narinig ko po kasi sa balita na kailangan daw po isang metro ang layo tuwing pumipila sa pamilihan. Nakita ko rin po sa TV, nakaupo po silang nalayo sa isa't isa. Bawal daw po munang magtabi-tabi para hindi mahawa o makahawa ng virus nga ba yung tawag doon? Sambit ni Ella. Tama ang narinig at nakita mo. Pansamantala, hindi mo na pwede maglapit-lapit yung mga tao dahil may virus na sobrang liliit na hindi natin nakikita. Coronavirus yung tawag sa virus na ito. Kapag may virus na ito yung isang tao, pwede siya magkaroon ng lagnat, ubo, pananakit ng katawan o mahirapang huminga. Yung iba naman, masakit yung tiyan at lalamunan. Malayo po ba yun? Hindi na po ba ako pwedeng makipaglaro ng nanay, tatay, kay Ben pag isang metro ang layo? Hindi ko na rin po ba pwedeng ayusin yung mahabang buhok ng kaibigan kong si Julie? Malungkot na sagot ng bata. Tuwing uubo ang taong may sakit, sumasama yung virus sa kanyang ubo. na pwedeng makahawa sa taong malapit sa kanya. Pwede na magkaroon ng coronavirus yung katabi niya. Pero dahil hindi niya nakikita yung virus, hindi niya alam na maaari siyang makahawa sa iba. Hindi ito maiiwasan kaya kailangan 1 metro ang layo ng tao sa isa't isa. Pansamantala lang ito hanggat magamot yung may sakit at mawala yung lahat ng virus. Ano po yung pwedeng gawin, nanay, para hindi mahawa o hindi makahawa ng coronavirus? Pag-aalalang sagot ni Ella. Halika, pumunta tayo sa kusina. Yaya ni Aling Marie. Dinala ni Aling Marie si Ella sa lababo at tinuruang maghugas ng kamay. Kailangan, lagi tayong maghuhugas ng kamay gamit ang sabon at ang tubig para siguradong malinis ang ating kamay tuwing hahawak tayo sa ating sarili. Kaya pinunasan ni Aling Marie ang kamay ni Ella. Iwasan din nating laging hawakan na ating mata, ilong o bibig, lalo na kapag nasa labas ng bahay. At kung umubo gamit ang ating siko at huwag sa kamay. Iwasan din muna nating makipagkamay sa ibang tao. Paano kaya pwedeng bumati sa iba ng hindi nakikipagkamay? Pwedeng kumaway, nanay. Pwede rin mag-small heart. Nakangiting sagot ni Ella. Tama, pwede nga. Kaya sa panahong ito, hindi muna tayo pwedeng lumabas ng bahay para maging ligtas tayo at ligtas din ang iba. Sabi ni Aling Marie. Pansamantala lang naman po pala, nanay. Hindi naman po pala masyadong matagal. Kala ko po hindi na ako maaaring makipaglaro kina Julie at Ben. Ganito po ba yung 1 metro, nanay? Binuka ni Ella ang kanyang kamay na may isang dangkal habang nakasingkit ang mga mata. Kaya kinuha ni Aling Marie ang gitara ni Mang Lino, tatay ni Ella. Parang ganito yung 1 metro. Paliwanag nito habang pinapakita kung gaano kahaba ang gitara. Matapos ay dinala ni Aling Marie si Ella sa pinto ng kanilang bahay. Tumayo ka sa gilid ng pinto at ako naman sa kabila. Halos ganyan ang 1 metro. Sumunod ay binisita nila ang silid ni Ella. Umupo ka sa gitna ng iyong kama, anak, at tatayo naman ako sa dulo. Ganyan ang 1 metro. Hindi naman po pala masyadong malayo 1 metro, nanay. May kita mo pa rin yung iba para parehas kayong ligtas. Nakangiting tugon ni Ella. Nilapitan ni Aling Marie ang kanyang anak at ginakap ng mahigpit. Ang yakap ni nanay, hindi kailangan ng 1 metro. Nakita ni Ella si Julie na nakadungaw sa kanilang bintana. Kaya dali-dali siyang pumunta sa kanilang bintana at sumigaw, Julie! Gusto mo maglaro? Kahit hindi ako pwedeng pumunta dyan, pwede tayong maglaro. Kaya naglaro ng bato-bato-pik ang magkaibigan habang nakadungaw sa kanilang mga bintana. At dito nagtatapos ang kwentong pambata na 1 metro. Nagustuhan niyo ba yung katang ating binasa? Sa ngayon, talagang kailangan muna natin na lumayo ng 1 metro sa iba upang protektahan ang kalusugan natin at ng ating kapwa. At natutuwa akong malaman na patuloy niyo pa rin itong ginagawa upang hindi makahawa o hindi mahawa ng sakit. Sana ay minapulot kayong aral dito sa ating binasa. At muli, maraming salamat sa pakikinig at sa pagsama sa akin na lakbayin ang kwento ni Kate Del Rosario na 1 metro. Paalam! Magandang
Miyerkules na, literacy advocates! Welcome to Usapang e-LITe, trending sa edukasyon ating pag-usapan. Buckle up for a new episode that virtually talks about multiliteracies with our guest teachers. Don't worry dahil kahit lit ito, light lang dito. Be sure to listen and watch all the way through kasama ang ating dalawang lit teacher hosts, Teacher Z and Teacher M.
Good afternoon po sa lahat at good afternoon sa iyo, Ma'am Liza.
Good afternoon, Teacher Z. Good afternoon sa lahat ng nanonood, diba, sa ating FB Live.
Hi, good
So, how are
afternoon,
you, Teacher
everyone.
Z?
Ito okay naman at excited kasi this is already our last na episode at saka malapit na rin magtapos ng ating term dito sa school year natin. How about you?
Yes, I'm also doing well and syempre excited din ako sa ating mga guest sa ating last episode.
Pero ano
So,
naman ang
yung sa
insight mo dun sa story kanina? Yes.
yun nga. I was about to ask you nga. Sige, ako muna. Siguro, ang makikita kong insightful statement na masasabi ko is children are really capable of being part of the solution in stopping the spreading of the virus. So parang ano sila, yung participation nila ano yun, maliit man, is mahalaga yun para makapag-make sila ng healthy choices. Ayun. How about
Yes,
you,
I
Teacher
believe
Z?
in that. Yes, for me naman, nakita ko yung ginawa ng mom that she tries to explain and she even gives examples kung nasaan dito yung tinatawag natin na isang metro. Hindi kasi nararapat na nagsasabi lang tayo ng mga rules sa mga bata. Instead, we also need to explain to them bakit ganun yung mga rules. So yun yung minsan nawawala eh. Kaya malalaman pa natin yung mga challenges kung paano magturo ng science sa ating mga speakers ngayong afternoon na to. So sino nga ba sila?
Yes. So, introduce ko na yung ating first guest. Okay, so our first guest is Professor Alfons Jayson O. Pelgone. So he is a full-time faculty member at the Philippine Normal University, Manila. So he handles along the domains of physics, such as nuclear science and electricity and magnetism, and domains of science education focused on pedagogies, as well as contemporary issues and perspectives in science education in the undergraduate and graduate levels. He has shared inputs as the chair of Scientific Review Committee for Robotics and Intelligent Machines for investigatory projects, a focal person and speaker in science content, as well as the pedagogy to the Department of Education, Department of Science and Technology, Science Education Institute, such as the National InnoBox Search for the most innovative teaching and learning resources, and recently DOST CEI Star International Conference. Local government units and other public and private education institutions such as First EduSpec Asia, a leading robotics education group. So currently, he is working with the team of the Philippines for the Educating Science Teachers for All, or the ESTA project, a team doing a CHED-funded brain-based study and PNU-funded initiative to create learning kits for science in the early grades. So, aside from that, he is also an author, editor, and item writer for instructional materials and examinations, and an active member of the professional organizations and societies along science and science education. He advocates an inclusive science and STEAM education and the building of a strong scientific culture for the Philippines through quality educators, active learning pedagogies, and effective resources. So let us welcome Professor Alfons Jayson O. Pelgone. Wow, di ba?
Good
Ayan,
afternoon, sir.
hi, sir.
Hello po, good afternoon.
Nakakatakot naman yung bio note na yon, di ba? Nakakagulat. So
Yes,
sige, tingnan
talagang
natin yung
malaman na
isa pa.
malaman.
Yes.
Alright.
Okay, so here we go. We have our next speaker in the name of Dr. Brian M. Limson. Si Doc Bry holds the rank of Assistant Professor 4 under Faculty of Science, Technology, and Mathematics at the Philippine Normal University. He handles the following subjects: human anatomy and physiology, bioethics, microbiology, community preparedness and disaster mitigation, science, technology, and society, student understanding in metacognition and learning science, and general biology. He was appointed as a Science Technology Society Center Head of school year 2015-16, and after which was appointed as a Science Resource Center Coordinator from school year 2016 to 2018. So he has received institutional awards from the Philippine Normal University, Outstanding Faculty, Students' Choice Award in Biology, and a finalist in the PNU Outstanding Teacher Award. He also gives a board licensure examination for professional teachers, reviews in human anatomy and physiology and microbiology. Likewise, he has co-authored several published researches in breast cancer, respiratory diseases, and biokept teaching materials. At the moment, he is pursuing his PhD in educational psychology degree at DLSU Manila, completed his academic units, and passed the comprehensive exam. Likewise, he also completed his undergraduate degree in BS Biology at De La Salle, Manila. He graduated with a degree of Doctor of Medicine from De La Salle Health Sciences Institute and also earned a certificate in teaching at the PNU. He also received a certificate in management psychology from De La Salle College of St. Benilde, disaster risk management from the Philippine Red Cross, and training on ethics in health research from the Philippine Health Research Ethics Board. Moreover, he has given talks and seminars on academic wellness and flexible learning. He has also presented several papers on the teaching of disaster risk reduction management and cognitive memory. His research interests are in the areas of public health, neuroscience, brain metabolism, mindfulness, social emotional learning, self determination, self regulated learning, positive psychology, achievement emotions, aspirations, and emotional regulation. Currently, he is working on his concept paper for his dissertation. Everybody, let us welcome Dr. Brian M. Limson. Hi,
Hi, good
sir.
afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for that humble introduction, Doc Z. And yeah, good afternoon, Doc Zarina and Lisa. And I'm deeply honored to be here. And thanks so much.
Maraming salamat po. Okay, so dahil light lang po ang ating usapan this afternoon, and our topic is on science, so gusto po namin malaman sana ng ating mga tagapakinig kung ano po ba ang science literacy. Can you maybe give us some background about this concept?
Okay, siguro Sir Alfons muna.
Nagtuturuan sila, di ba?
Hello po, magandang hapon. So, dahil tayo ay mga taga-science and usapang light lang naman, ano, sabi nila, Ma'am.
Yes,
Pero
naman.
siguro susugan na lang natin kasi if we read through a lot of, resources, references, no, we will see different definitions, no. Although we will see some common things, no, in these varied definitions. So, I would just want to go back to what PISA, no, is actually trying to give us about scientific literacy, or like what Ma'am Shanina said, science literacy. So it actually refers to the individual's understanding of scientific concepts. So for example, paano niya nauunawaan yung kidlat, yung lindol, yung mga ganun, ano? Which is very relevant, no? Kahapon lang pala naranasan po natin yung lindol. And then, yung mga proseso, yung processes, like how people give birth, di ba yung mga ganun, these are processes, no? And hindi lang yung pag-unawa nila dun sa konsepto, not only understanding the concepts and phenomena, but also being able to apply this particular sense of understanding to new and to new situations, no? Scientific and non-scientific. So pwedeng sa isang konteksto na scientific, like sa laboratory, or pwede naman sa isang non-scientific na situation tulad ng pamimili ng or pagpili ng sabon, di ba yung mga ganon? These are common things na akala ng ibang tao. It's simple, but if you factor in conceptual understanding in science, you will be, you will have this better decision making, ika nga. So I think I would like to agree with that particular concept of science or scientific literacy.
Kasi Sir Alphonse, kapag sinabing science, mahirap agad no? Yun yung iniisip ng mga tao. So yun pala, you can just tame it down a little to just deciding what soap to use, how to define information and everything else.
How to
Lalo na pag
remove
nagbabasa
things.
tayo sa likod, no, ng mga
Po.
bibilhin natin.
That's actually correct. Opo. Some people parang think na hindi dapat yun or parang hindi nila ginagawa yun, pero I really appreciate and parang sobrang saludo ako sa mga tao na talagang tinitingnan yung assess yung percentage ng ganito sa kanilang food, sa kanilang yung binibili nilang shampoo, 'di ba Doc Bri? Yung mga
Yes,
ganon.
yes,
These
Yes.
are very simple
Totoo yun.
things but
Science your
nagpapakita
push
siya.
part.
Yes, yes.
So maybe
These
our
are-
viewers do not know na nagsa-science na pala sila sa everyday life nila.
Exactly.
However,
Yes.
'di ba, hindi nila alam yung mga theoretical na mga
Mm.
information regarding that. Ayan.
Yes.
Yeah, you can parang kumbaga natutulungan tayong mag-make ng decision based on
Right.
the things that we know about science.
Mm.
So, yon. So, how about naman po si Doc Bri?
Yes, dagdagan ko lang yung sinabi ni Professor Alfons. Meron tayong 3 dimensions in science literacy. Una, yung civic science literacy. Pag sinabing civic, it's all about the people, the institutions, the schools, no? And the norms, the goals. Yun yung isa, no? Pangalawa, meron tayong tinatawag na digital media science literacy. It's how you deliver science, no, to the general public. Like yung sinabi ni Sir Alphonse, yung sabon. Paano ba natin i-advertise yun? 'Di ba? No, meron 'di ba, merong mga yung laboratory shows, mga nurses, 'di ba, pinakikita. Hindi ko na papangalanan yung brand. Alam niyo na 'yon, 'di ba? Okay, so dalawa 'yon Isang starts with the letter S, dalawang brands 'yon, pero they use science, no? Isa pa yung toothpaste, 'di ba? O yung Philippine Dental Association recommends blah blah blah, may ganon. And yung biogesic, no, sorry, paracetamol. Okay? And then yung huli, yung huling dimension, sorry po, paracetamol pala ang generic, no? Yung huling dimension is cognitive science literacy. So, naalala ko yung pinakita kanina, no? Ano nga ba yung isang metro, no? 'Di ba? Ito 'yun cognitive science literacy, no? How can we put theory into practice, no? Sabi ko nga kay Sir Alphonse, no, yung ESTA, no, educating science, no, for all teachers, no? It is the way, the truth, and the life, which is true because we apply it based from our informed choices, based from our volition, and applying our informed choices, decision-making process, no? It all comes from empirical evidences.
Yes.
So, yun. So that is
So
science.
sa madaling sabi po, science literacy is an application of the theories po na natututunan natin, or maybe for some, nauuna ang application rather than learning some of those theories, most especially if hindi masyadong nakapasok sa sa kanilang life span. Ano po? Sige.
Yeah.
So, actually, tapos na po yung unang tanong namin kasi 3 lang naman yung tanong namin. Napakagagaling ng mga speakers natin. So, tinapos na agad nila. So, Ma'am Lisa, ano po ba yung second question natin?
Ayan, para sa ating second question, how do I develop science literacy among learners?
So, magtuturoan na naman
Sino po
yan.
ang una?
Sige, ako na lang. All right.
Okay,
Ako kasi, I'm looking, I'm looking in the, the context of Jan J's, yung kanyang pre-operational theory, developmental theory, pre-operational theory, yung formal operational, and concrete operational. So, ang ibig sabihin nito, saan ba nanggagaling ang learners? Let's say, for example, toddler. Pre-operational yan. So how can we inject science, So bigyan ko kayo ng isang example, which is of course science, and dito natin nakikita yung motor, yung movements ng bata and yung thinking process, Yung sa toddler, bigyan mo ng blocks of Lego blocks. Walang instructions. 'Di ba? Nakaka-build ng bata ng building, bahay, kotse. No, so it is yung kanyang sensory perception, so kumbaga na-apply niya based from the motor skills, so it is cerebral, and then using the optic nerves, the sense of sight. Okay, so in if you're going to summarize it, yung Lego blocks at na nabuo ng bata, if you're going to apply cognitive science literacy, metacognition yun. It is thinking by thinking. Okay, so yes, doon pa lang makikita mo na, nakabuo ng bahay, nakabuo ng kotse, di ba? And then we praise and may feedback. Anak, ang galing mo naman. Kanino ka ba nagmana? Sa tatay, sa nanay? Diba? So yun. Pangalawa, yung concrete operational. This is very crucial kasi according to John Piaget, 6 to 12 years old, very crucial yan, formal operational yan ng bata, So this one is where they're garnered their thoughts, How do they feel about the world, And dito kailangan yung masusing teacher support, parental support, and peer support. Okay, so diyan natin i-base rin yung ating, gumawa tayo ng lesson plan, yung mga topics covered, i-base natin doon, Saan ba nanggagaling, yung pagka sinabi nating yung concrete operational, So yung how does the child make sense about the world? And sa ating mga teachers naman, how do we make sense of our learners' performance? Paano ba sila mag-isip? Okay? And pagdating naman sa sa formal operational, di ba? Yung so concrete operational, pagdating sa formal operational, yung 6 to 12 formative years 'yon, di ba? So pagdating sa yung beyond 12 years old, di ba? Yun ay yung tinatawag nating formal operational. Dito nahuhubog yung orality, yung abstract reasoning ng bata, and they tend to ask even more, and they just don't acquire information, they question it, so we have to teach them how to think, and for me, this one is where the philosophy of science comes in, like for instance the epistemological, learning by learning, yung una yun and then pangalawa yung metaphysical is the tangible world paano ba sila natututo in the real world situation, dagdagan natin, and in the real mess situation, how do they handle things, how do they feel, they think and behave, yung pangatlo is aesthetics, the art, may art sa science, it's the art of questioning, the beauty of appreciating things, the beauty of health, the beauty of structure, the beauty of living things, the beauty of physical science. Okay, so yes, for me, doon dapat tayo manggagaling so that we can put proper framing and perspective on how to teach, science in an effective and an efficient way. Pag sinabing effective, ano ba yung desired outcome? Pag sinabing efficient, it is more economical, di ba? So kagaya kanina, maganda yun yung isang metro, Doon nakikita lahat yun, di ba? And 'di ba sa mga anchored yun sa mga bata, 'di ba? So yun. So that's a good example. So yun, that's my take on this one.
So, level ka dun sa bata.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Tsaka siguro may mga parents who will be watching, So yung parang suggestion rin ni Doc Brian na we provide open-ended learning materials such as blocks. Kasi 'di ba, at least yung bata kumbaga nasa sa kanila kung ano yung gagawin nila doon sa material na yun, and it starts from already that curiosity na para mas lalo pa silang ma-engage into science.
Yes, and that word engage, very important.
Yeah, and also I would like to highlight also yung what Doc Bryce said na yung stages of cognitive development ni Piaget. So para sa mga parents din siguro 'di ba gustong matuto like how are we going to really expose children to love science, 'di ba? So pwede na nating maging basis agad 'yon yung kay Piaget. So yun po. Yes, so thank you po. So how about si Professor Alfons?
Ayan, hello po. I was writing a while ago, Syempre para susuportahan natin yung yung sinabi ni Doc Bry. Nung nakita ko yung tanong, when I saw the question, it's basically focus sa science, what do you call that? Scientifically literate learners, yung construct kasi na naka-anchor ay nakatutok na siya sa learners, So eventually I would like to parang look into it as a formal construct, parang kasi in the formal educational structure. So kapag ganun ang ating usapan, yung mga nasa paaralan as teachers, how do we develop learners who are scientifically literate? unang-una gusto ko sigurong mag-reflect si teacher, no? That the teacher should understand the knowledge, skills, and the attitudes and values that are aligned with the literacy. So parang, kasi syempre, if you would like to develop something from them, you should understand those things first. Like in terms of content, kaya may binabanggit si Doc Pray kanina yung parang focus on basic content, no, basic understanding of things, no. And eventually yung skills, yung sinasabi na may kayang gawin yung bata given problems like sa Lego blocks or something like that, no. And then yung attitudes, kasi scientific literacy isn't just knowing something, eh. It's being able to persevere, no. It's being able to critically think about things, no. It's about intellectual honesty. It's about um, asking a lot of questions. No, hindi siya yung sinasabi ni Shanina kanina na parang pag science mahirap kasi more often than not people look at it as something or the content that we need to know, like the scientific name, for example, of something or the formula or the equation, but it's not just that, eh. It's beyond that. And I think that's what a lot of people miss. Yung beyond, no? Kasi yun yung mahalaga, eh. So kung nasa formal structure tayo ng edukasyon, I would advise siguro the teachers to focus on the first, basically instruction, yung conceptual understanding. So meron akong tatlong I, and then A. So bali tatlong letters lang. So the second is immersion. Kung may conceptual understanding ka in instruction, yung immersion has to be situational. So, di ba? Mahalaga 'yon kasi science isn't looking at drawings talaga, eh. 'Di ba? Science is doing and experiencing things. And then yung final letter, yung A, I believe that should be action. Kasi whatever we're able to teach them and allow them to experience should be something that they can do eventually. So, for example, we're asking them to build, no, we're asking them to be able to identify and then create yung mga ganong stuff. And then kanina while I was writing, I parang naisip ko na if we want to develop learners who are scientifically literate, ultimately, ito, pananaw ko lang po, no, personal belief, that achieving a certain sense of literacy is a self-decision. So parang in science kasi, we do not indoctrinate people, eh. We are letting them experience or be immersed in experiences. And at the end of the day, when they acquired a certain literacy, that's their decision, eh. They have to decide which are the truths and which are the hindi truths, parang ganun yon. And then, if naman mas malawak yung konsepto beyond the formal education, I think we should engage many people. Yung sinasabi na sana mawala yung mahirap kasi yan, eh, yung it's difficult, parang ganun. And then, naniniwala ako na dapat teachers should be able to democratize science. And then, and dapat tayo din as teachers, babalik ko ulit sa teachers, dapat mahigpit tayo sa checkpoints, yung assessments ba? Kasi we really want to develop literacy and we want to see this literacy later on, no? Dapat mahigpit tayo, hindi lang sa kanila, sa atin din. Yung checkpoint din natin sa sarili. So yung reflective teaching, no, ni teacher as a science teacher, parang gano'n. Sige po, yun lang muna.
May dadagdag ako sa kay Sinab. Ay, pwede ba
Go po.
Okay, meron akong 3 I's din, Sir Alfons, dadagdagan ko lang yung sinabi mo. Intellect. Okay, so we need intellect, no? And lagi ko to sinasabi, it's sa mga teachers, students, learners, stakeholders, sa ating lahat, citizen of the world, globally, it is an obligation to be intelligent. And what goes along with it is morality. Okay? And what is morality? Morality is, determining the good from the bad. Okay? So bakit ba natin pinag-uusapan ito? Pinag-uusapan natin ito, it's because it's for the greater good, for the greatest number. Okay? So we want to be literate, we want to be scientifically literate to empower us to do the good, and it enables us to act. Okay? So that is intellect, no? So pangalawa, it gives us pangalawang I, it gives us a certain level of introspection. Introspection na we ask ourselves, how am I? How do I view about the world? What are my actions? Tama ba ito? Sense of, being reflective, is having a sense of introspection. At pangatlong I is being inquisitive, because we are given this, informed choices, no? So therefore, no, we apply certain values, no? Ano ba 'tong mga values na 'to? In the world of ethics and morality, isa lang naman ang gusto natin. It's for the good. Okay? Being inquisitive, no, we apply, no? Is there the value of justice, the value of fortitude, okay? The value of temperance. Temperance is yung hindi sobra, hindi kulang. No? And we also have the value of patience, being patient, no? In what is there to know. Okay, why do we have to know this? No, and how do we do? No, how do we do some certain acts? No, in order to achieve the certain goal of ours, and then and asking the question of why? Bakit ba kailangan natin? Okay, so yun lang. Si Professor Alfons may 2 I at A, ako 3 I.
Kaya nga labanan ng
Magsama-samahin
letters
natin.
Yes. Okay. Labanan ng
Magsama-samahin
letters
natin yan. Oo.
Ang hugot ko dito sa mga responses ng mga speakers is that simula ng week 1 ng eLITe, ng usaping eLITe, mapapunta tayo sa digital literacy, social literacy, nanggaling na kami sa media literacy, financial literacy. Ang laging sagot on how you develop things is to know your content, is to know it. Minsan tinatanong ko yung mga speakers, paano ko pag ayaw nilang pag-aralan yung mga gantong klase ng things? For example, sa financial literacy, when people are not open to learning these things, ganyan. So, paano kaya sa science din? Nasagot din to ni Sir Brian tsaka ni Sir Alphonse. So, sabi nila, alamin nyo. Kasi it is your responsibility as teachers to know these things. Because eventually, if you do not know your content, then hindi mo siya matuturo sa mga estudyante mo at papunta sa introspection at papunta sa knowing the morality is mahihirapan na tayo. I think the reason why they perceive science as a difficult subject is because yung highly cognitive na mga kabisaduhan ng mga panahon ng elementary tayo di ba? So I think that's one of the difficulties, and siguro kagaya ng sinabi ni Sir Alphonse, kailangan na nating baguhin kung paano talaga tinuturo ang science, kasi it's really more than just memorizing all of those chemical tables and everything else, di po ba? Sige, kaya nga meron po kaming pinakahuling tanong actually.
Miss Z, may dadagdag lang ako.
Yes, go ahead po.
Siguro yung, ano ba yung mastery of content? Siguro, kasi dapat natin alisin, yung, mahirap ang science. Kasi memory. Alisin natin yon. Ang tawag doon fixed mindset Dapat meron tayong growth mindset. Ang growth mindset, no? So, paano ko ba, how can I make science more interesting or fun, di ba? And dapat ang laging growth mindset natin is we are supposed to be intrinsically motivated.
Yes.
Intrinsic motivation ang tinatawag. And if I may, so meron tayong neurotransmitter called dopamine. Itong dopamine, ito yung needs, wants, and goals natin. Dapat natin i-amplify yun. Meron tayo noon. No? So it's a matter of decision-making process. It's a matter of choice. Whatever discipline, that maybe it could be finance, it could be art, it could be math.
Yes.
Pagganahin natin ang, the term, we have to biologize our life.
Wow, biologize our life. Right? Pwede natin yung sabihin sa mga teachers, Sir Alphonse, that it's your responsibility to learn these information, di ba? Paano kapag parents na po ang kaharap natin, most especially na sila yung nagtuturo sa ating mga young ones pagdating sa ating hybrid natin na events, sa ating mga programs? Paano po natin kaya sasagutin yung mga parents na we do not know these things so do not expect us to teach it to our kids. Paano naman po kaya yun?
Okay. Kasi ang sagot ko dyan, dito papasok ang teacher support. Teacher support on the part of, the child, sa classroom. Teacher support pati sa magulang. Kasi, parents ask teachers. So, sometimes, di ba, ang mga parents kumukuha ng tutor yan. No? So ang tutor, ang parents magtatanong, paano ba namin i-enhance ang skills, no? So dito papasok yung role ni teacher, ano, to engage, no? And dapat kasi, going back sa parents, ano, yung parental support dapat mahalaga yun, no? And sa mga parents, so paano ba ituturo ang science, ano? Always yan, we have to look at it, no? I'm also a parent. And when I teach my daughter, no, it's always anchored, no, in the real world situation, no, in the real world and real mess, no. Ano bang nangyayari? Like for instance, pagdating sa health, bakit ba kailangan natin magpabakuna? Bakit kailangan natin maligo? Bakit kailangan natin pag nahiwa, kailangan natin i-wash? So it's for me, it's from a pragmatic point of view, no. So dito papasok rin yung you just don't swallow the information, you have to ask questions, no. Kaya nga isa pa, no, yung halimbawa yung parental support, dito rin papasok ang individual differences. Kasi minsan, 'di ba, halimbawa lang naturuan na natin ng magulang kung paano ituturo ang science, kung paano maging scientifically literate. And then let's say for example, meron silang 3 anak. O anak, ba't ikaw hindi mo nakuha ito? Bakit yung pangalawa nakukuha niya? Huwag po natin i-compare. No? Please lang, mga magulang. Lagi ko itong sinasabi. Let us acknowledge individual differences. And iba-iba yan, no? Si Mami, halimbawa, yung panganay ninyo, kamusta ba ang pagbubuntis nyo sa panganay ninyo? Iba ang pagbubuntis sa panganay ninyo sa pangalawa. Pwedeng sa panganay ninyo, healthy, very optimistic ang outcome, no? Walang stress, no? Yung sa pangalawa, no? Baka you're overworked, no? Laging puyat. So may effect yun sa bata. And prior to pregnancy, meron tayong tinatawag na epigenetics. No? Dito papasok yung nature and nurture. Magkasama lagi yung nature sa genes. No? Pag sinabing nurture, may effect ang kinakain natin, ang pagtulog natin, how we feel, how we behave, and how we act. It's all compounded, eh. So if you're going to look at it, no, from a psychological point of view, yung behavior, no, how we accept things, no, how we challenge us, no, it's all compounded, eh. So we also have to understand ourselves in pag ang bata, ourselves as parents, pag ang bata ay sinasabing may ina-explain siya, no? We listen to understand. We do not listen to respond. Pakinggan nyo. Kaya nga, explain, di ba? So, maraming factors yan, eh. And, ang mahirap dito, kapag ang magulang ay yung kanyang background din, paano siya pinalaki, ay medyo may problema. Oo. So, diyan papasok yung anak, kung kami ganito. No, wag tayong mag-compare. Iba. Let us acknowledge again individual differences. People make our environment. Ika nga kay sa article ni Sandra Scott. No? Oh, so malaki ang as a future educational psychologist, malaki ang problema natin sa education. Sa PISA pa lang, bonus na 'yun. Sa parental support, another problem, sa student engagement and academic success, that is another problem. Sa student engagement, ano ba ang tinitignan natin, no? Sa mga parents, ito rin na tignan nyo. Pag tawagin na rin nating student engagement or anak engagement, yung kanyang behavior, yung kanyang cognition, at yung kanyang emotions. Okay? So dapat yun magkakasama yun. So yes, talagang this online platform, dapat sama-sama tayo lahat. Collaborate, communicate, critical thinking, and we have to be creative, di ba? Forces of the 21st century. So yun lang po.
Dami, di ba nating natutunan in one lang yung sinabi ni Doc Ray, like collaboration, strong parental involvement, or yung family engagement, no, kasi members of the family is also already helping, no, the child. Ang actually very very rich talaga, Teacher Z, yung mga sinabi ni Doc Bry. How about si Sir, si Prof. Alphonse?
Na-realize ko mahirap yung tanong, no? If especially yeah,
It
pag
is.
tinanong ka na ng parent kung paano ko to ituturo na because hindi ako naturuan ng ganito or something, mahirap
Mm.
siya talaga sagutin. So, sasagutin ko lang siya generally, no, maiksi lang. So, una, gusto ko sana maunawaan ng lahat kung ano ba yung roles natin sa pagtuturo or sa pagkatuto ng mga bata. So, the parents, the learners, no, and the teacher. Kasi ultimately, the teacher has to design pa rin the experience eh. The parent, sabi nga ni Doc Fra, yung support ng parent is very important. So, we are not asking you to teach the content. We are asking you to support the experience. Technically, and then, of course, that will be depending on the blend that they're embracing, yung uri yung flexible learning na ini-embrace ng mga eskwelahan. So, may mga nagtatanong po talagang ganun, ano, like yung parents na iba yung background nila, ayon, sabi nila na iba na lang itanong mo sa akin, wag lang yung ganito. May mga ganun tayo naririnig. Pero hopefully we get to understand the roles nga. So, pangalawa siguro na para maiwasan po natin yun, kasi sabi nga, di ba, we are all in this together and we can only move forward if we help each other. Yung ano, I think the learner, how do you say it? Siguro learner-friendly materials and then parent-friendly materials also. Na pag ginamit yun, for example, for home-based learning, the parent who's supporting the experience, kaya niyang mabigyan ng appropriate support yung bata. So not necessarily siya yung magsasabi na, anak, ito yung electrolytes, ito yung mga ganyan-ganyan. But because of the learner-friendly materials and parent-friendly materials, kayang-kaya nilang ma-experience yung experience. Okay? And then, ano pa ba sinulat ko dito? Naniniwala ako na dapat wag tayo masyado magtanong na bakit dapat ituro ko ito. Dapat we are all learners. Parang ganun siguro yung mindset, no? Kahit you're already a parent, you are still learning eh. We learn a lot of things. Baka nga mas excited pa tayo sa pagkatuto, no, kaysa sa ating mga anak, no? Malay natin. And then yun nga, siguro overall, yung school din na pinanggagalingan ng bata, yung support din nila dun sa particular na interrelationship na yun, siguro dapat malakas din talaga. Ayun. So, yun lang. Yun lang
Pero
Yun lang ba? Ang
doon.
dami nun eh.
Pero idadagdag. Ito sa mga
Okay po.
sa mga teachers, sa mga parents, no? Sa mga stakeholders of the school. Ano tayo eh? We are frontliners tayo eh. No? So as a medical doctor, ganito yan eh. When you are faced in the emergency room with a patient who has difficulty of breathing, kulay asul na, anong gagawin mo bilang doktor? Minimize the complication, simplify the problem. Administer oxygen, establish the airway, the breathing, and the circulation. Okay? Simple. Because you want to amplify the quality of life. Sa teaching, ganun din naman eh. Sa mga teachers, sa parents, let us not complicate things. Complex na nga ang problem. Gagawin pa natin complicated. Let's make learning fun. Okay, so ganun, it's the same, no? So we are, that's it can be equated to the simplification of learning. Okay? Making learning fun, no? In the context of disaster risk reduction management, lagi nilang sinasabi, alleviate human suffering. Ito sa akin to, no? In the context of teaching and learning, let us alleviate cognitive suffering. Let us make learning fun. Okay, so yun lang.
Yun, ang hilig nila magsabi ng yun lang, pero napaka-complicated ang hirap nilang i-apply, di ba? Nakakaloka yan eh. No?
Very rich.
Yes, parang boom, sabog.
Ang dami kong gustong...
Bakit lalo yung bato ko eh, di ba? But anyway, it really takes a village to raise a child. Yun naman talaga yung sinasabi natin eh. So mapa-science literacy man yun, or kahit anong literacy or values ang gusto nating ituro sa bata. Ang naisip ko lang din dyan, because of some researches that special education is also doing, nagre-reklamo din si teacher eh. Tapos sinasabi nila na this time, hindi lang bata yung tinuturuan ko eh. Dalawa na silang tinuturuan ko. So there are really a lot of mga things that it is a possibility na hindi talaga natin anticipate na hala, ito na yung trabaho natin. And ito na yung ginagawa natin at kailangan natin itong gawin. Kaya siguro kung ako yung sasagot ng difficult na question na yan, Sir Alphonse, ang sasabihin ko is really your motivation and why you are doing this. Diba?
Yeah.
So mapa-parent ka, mapa-teacher ka, lagi mong babalikan yung sarili mo, bakit mo ba ginagawa to? So if you are really, really looking at having your kids, having your students learn the subject, kahit na MELC lang siya, then do everything that you could para matuto sila. Kung yun talaga yung goal mo. So yun yung masasabi ko doon.
Miss Z, may dadagdag lang ako.
Go ahead.
Oo. Siguro bilang teacher and parents, no? Teachers, no? Academic community and of course to the parents. Siguro lagi natin tanongin, no? Kamusta naman ang ating well-being? No? Do we thrive? No? So how is our human flourishing? Isa yun, no? And pangalawa, yung kamusta na ba ang ating life satisfaction? Are we happy? Di ba? Happy ba tayo? No? And no, gusto ko lang dagdagan from a physiological perspective. No? Happiness is a choice. May endorphins tayo. We have to konting galaw-galaw, boost up our endorphins. But of course, if there's, let's say, for instance, an organic problem like depression, that is another story. No? But what I'm saying here is, no, so we have endorphins. Endorphins, no, is known as the happy hormone. And paano ba natin i-boost yon? Exercise, movement, galaw-galaw. So it amplifies our well-being, our human flourishing. It helps us to thrive. Okay. So yeah. That's it. Thank you.
Kaya naman, lilipat tayo sa third question, di ba? Actually, medyo natatouch na po natin yung third question eh. So, Ma'am Lisa, what is our third question? And our final question?
Yes, for our final question, what are the challenges in teaching science literacy?
Nako, nasabi niyo na po yung mga sagot kanina. But what do you think are some of the barriers pa po? Yes. Bakit hindi ba natin nagagawa na fun ang learning ng science? Why is it stigmatized as a difficult na discipline?
Sino ba muna? Sir Alphonse muna? Or maybe Sir Alphonse?
Sige po. Para pwede si Doc Bry mag-explain later on. Pero sa totoo lang, I'm not sure, pero well, siguro yung mga teachers, if you'll ask them, they can list a lot din, no? Kasi of their nasa grassroots experiences nila. Ako naman, I would like to look at it in a bigger perspective, hindi na lang dun sa experience as a teacher. Kasi I was able to experience being a teacher in a science high school in the regions before I went to PNU. So hindi ko na sila i-enumerate ng kulang si ganito. So yung mga ganong stuff, I will not do that anymore. Pero gusto ko siyang tingnan naman, kasi literacy naman, yung background ko naman sa pagtuturo is sa science high school. So ang expectation doon, hindi lang scientific literacy kasi, no? We are expecting them to become STEM professionals in the future. So that's one step higher than literacy, no? So ako, ang tinitingnan ko in the Philippine context, I'm not sure if I need to say this, pero masakit kasi sabihin to as a science teacher na parang I think I may be wrong, I hope I'm wrong, that there's a weak scientific culture if ever it exists in the Philippines. So like what I said, I hope I'm wrong. And I think that's evident in the type of questions that we ask, no? The type of choices that we make, the type of books we read, the movies we watch. Diba? I mean, yung mga binanggit ko, they are not scientific, no? Like pag nanood, yung decision mo lang to ask a question and stuff like that. Parang feeling ko, that's the start kasi of being scientific, diba? Yung asking good questions, being inquisitive about things, being curious, and then after asking those questions, thinking of what you can do to answer them or to solve them. Parang mga ganon. I think that's going beyond. So kaya lang feeling ko hindi ko siya masyadong nararamdaman, and I want to really experience that. Kaya nga sinasabi ko lagi na that I'm an advocate of inclusive science education because I want to experience this scientific culture in this country. So yun, isa yun. And then I think
Sir, question.
Ay, sige po, sorry.
Ano po yung inclusive science? What
education?
is the other? Yes, inclusive science education.
Okay.
Ano po, paano niyo po gagawing inclusive ang science? Kasi I am in the inclusive education.
Opo.
Yung inclusive science, ano naman po ibig sabihin nun?
Actually, para siyang spin-off lang siya nung inclusive education. Kasi 'di ba, usually may mga
Okay.
may mga konsepto pa rin na science is male dominated, may mga ganun. Tapos minsan meron siyang elitist point of view, yung parang kasi usually ang nagsa-STEM professionals syempre mahal din kasi noon, ano? Oo. Pero nung naging free na yung college education, 'di ba, naging free na siya. So anyone can go na to this field.
Ay,
Saka
sir,
maraming
maisingit ko lang yung
yes.
problema ng Humes ngayon. The reason daw kung bakit kulang tayo ng mga enrollees sa FSTEM is because dun sa K-12, yung mga teacher, yung education ay nasa Humes.
Oo.
Tapos, yung diretso dun sa science is akala nga nasa medicine and everything else. The same reason na
Engineering.
sinasabi nyo ngayon. Yes, okay. Sige, continue
Pero
pa.
dapat na-realize din na if, for example, yung estudyante gusto niyang maging teacher na science teacher, pwede siya manggaling sa STEM track, 'di ba? Wala naman nagbabawal doon. I'm not sure
Yun nga
kung
hindi
Oo.
mamatay-matayan, sir. Kaya ang konti ng
Ayun.
ating enrollee. Siguro that's one of the barriers. Ano
Opo.
po? Sige pa.
Tapos ano pa ba yung sinabi ko? Apart from that, yung culture. So siguro may kinalaman din, Doc Bry, no, yung parang national priorities din, ano. Part din
Yes,
siya.
that's true.
Oo. At some point, no, I will not talk about anything
And implementation.
Oo. Saka yung
implementation.
sir, yung priorities kasi na yun gets translated in the experience of the society, no? So
Yes.
parang and eventually that gets appreciated. Yung appreciation ba ng tao, yung appreciation ng tao. And then
that's another factor.
there's a study for senior high na actually sikat ang STEM sa senior high. Kung tutuusin lang, ano, people appreciate the idea of STEM. No, and I think the pandemic made clear that really STEM is important, no. To be fair, no, I'm not saying na hindi important po yung iba, no, but the pandemic also made clear that the Philippines need to invest on STEM para tayo naman sana ang gumagawa ng sarili nating vaccines. Alam mo yung mga ganun stuff.
I agree.
Pero feeling ko the appreciation is there, but some people don't want to get involved with this concept of science, of STEM, or parang feeling ko they appreciate, they're thankful na may ganun, na may mga applications na nagagamit natin bilang tao, pero parang they don't want to get involved. Like, di ba?
Sir, ano po ang kulang sa atin?
Ayan, hindi ko masasagot yan.
Yan. Sasagutin ko yan mamaya.
Sasagutin ni Doc Bry mamaya. Oo. Para happy kami sa kanya po yung kasunod.
Sige. Accountability.
Accountability. Oo, correct yan. Accountability.
Sige pa.
Ay,
Ako na ba?
Ay,
okay na, tapos na po ako. Yun po yung
okay.
Yun lang po yung
Okay.
general na nakita ko, no. Pero yung grassroots experience ng teachers, I know there are a lot. So, ayun.
Para kasing nanghinayang ako when you mentioned na we have appreciation. So,
Yeah, we
mataas
have.
na yun di ba? So,
Yeah.
yung usually na hinihintay natin na makuha ng bata, makuha ng people in general So, what is stopping us to go to the next step?
Pero Doc Z, yung appreciation na yun ay yung idea na alam nila na
It's
mahalaga.
important.
Oo,
Yes.
parang ganon. And then,
ganun lang.
ano yung kasunod? Parang nagkakaroon ng stop, nagkakaroon ng gap after that.
Meron akong word dyan Sir Alfons and Doc Z and Ma'am Lisa. Yung alam nila Alam nila ano yung kasunod. Hindi nila alam. Yung alam nila na they know it, but how to act on it, they don't know. That is what is known as ineptitude. No, yan ang problema ineptitude. Alam natin, but how to act, ayun na. Problema yun. No? The next one, kung in the medical perspective, halimbawa may COVID. COVID, 'di ba, nahihirapan huminga. 'Di ba? Nagkakaroon ng pneumonia, 'di ba? Ang problema ng mga doktor doon, ABCs, airway, breathing, and circulation. 'Di ba? Sa teaching, ang problema affect, behavior, and cognition. ABC 'yun. Okay? No? And how do we solve that one, no? Number one, siguro tignan natin ang self-efficacy ng mga teachers at mga estudyante. Okay? Yung self-efficacy is how can I be motivated? No? In order to arrive at this in order to teach constructively. Okay? And yung motivation na yun, dapat, again, sasabihin ko, uulitin ko, dapat may intrinsic motivation. Eh. Dapat gusto mo yung tinuturo mo, gusto mo yung ginagawa mo. And same thing, dito papasok ang teacher support and autonomy support, no? You support the students. Autonomy support is, balik tayo kay Vygotsky, di ba? Kay Vygotsky, yung the zone of proximal development, scaffolding. No? So, the student is not dependent on the teacher, but, hinahayaan ng guro na matuto ang bata. Nasa likod lang. Nasa likod lang ang teacher. And doon pa lang, no, ma-enhance mo na ang, to have a positive classroom climate. Diba? Classroom climate, that is also another thing to consider. Okay? Pangalawa, yung autonomy, no, I would like to move into Ryan and Desi's self-determination theory, no? It's the basic psychological needs, ano? Yung autonomy, no? Autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Problema yan. Kasi yung autonomy kasi you have the volition. No? You have the volition to do things. No? And having the volition to do things, dapat competent ka. The mastery, the skills. No? And if you have that, you're able to relate. No? There's this sense of belongingness. Kaya kung yung interest na yun kulang, dagdagan natin. No? Dagdagan natin, dapat maging autonomous tayo, dapat may competence. There's competence and relatedness. And dadagdagan ko, no, yung kay Pecron's academic emotions, no? In Pecron's academic emotions, dalawa yun, positive and negative. Ang positive emotion, enjoyment, hope, and pride. No? So dapat natin i-consider yun. Kasi pag nawala na yung motivation, and magiging negative yun, it leads to negativity, like for instance, frustration, anxiety, anger, boredom. So again, hindi rin naman maganda yung sobrang enjoyment, hope, and pride kasi overconfident naman yung bata. So I would like to use an ethical principle, no? The virtue of temperance. Katamtaman, hindi kulang, hindi sobra. Okay? So and mahalaga kasi yung emotions. Kasi others trivialize it, no? Yung pag emotions lang yan. Hindi, but emotions,
it's a driving force.
Yes, it's a driving force, no? Yung pag sinabing galit ako, makakapag-decision ka ba kung if you're mad, so again, no? And problema rin ito sa PISA, no? Reading, science, and math, no? Iba kasi ang approach natin dito, and we also have to consider the student wellness, no? And again, dito na rin papasok yung academic success ng bata, and ulitin ko na naman yung student engagement. Student engagement has 3 variables, ano? Yung tignan natin ang behavior ng bata when it comes to learning science, no? Ang cognitive skills ng bata when it comes to science, and of course, yung feeling, ang emotional aspect ng bata when it comes to science. Same thing din sa teacher. Is the teacher engaged? Gusto ba ng teacher yung ginagawa? It works both ways. No? So if only we have this growth mindset, no? For me, this one is how I look at it. Maybe this one will be one. I won't call it human flourishing. I will call it science flourishing. Diba? So
then maybe we should have growth mindset subject in early years.
Yes,
more on psychology at an early age, right?
Teacher Z, actually sa childhood, kasi yung field ko naman, we talaga our teachers to foster growth mindset for young learners na talaga. Kaya nga, napapasmile talaga ako pag mention ni Doc Bray yung growth mindset. Kasi I think yun to agree na talagang we need to foster that. Kasi once na merong growth mindset ang individual, it will not stop the person from learning more. Kasi nga, kahit nahihirapan sila, like for example, science concepts, sometimes it can be hard, but if you have growth mindset, parang you will push through, di ba? Yung grit and growth mindset nga po na tinatawag. So, tsaka po yung sinabi ni Doc Bray na I would like to highlight din po, yung self-determination theory. na yung sinabi niyo po na competence, autonomy, and relatedness, na yung if we, if we motivate our students na parang sila mismo yung may intrinsic motivation na
Yes.
like if sasabihin natin na you have the license to drive your own car, pero yung car is yung competence, autonomy, relatedness. So, yung gano'n na ma-empower muna natin yung mga estudyante natin as teachers. Kaya nilang mag-aral ng
Yes,
science,
maganda
diba?
yung car na
So,
yan.
yun po.
Yes,
Yes.
however, the
Or-
problem is that yung modules, di ba, hinahayaan natin sila ng magkopyahan sa isa't isa, na hindi natin nababatayan. Si
Yeah.
parents ang sumasagot, hindi
Oo.
na naturo sa bata. And
Correct.
imagine that for 2 years. So, ang laki ng
Yeah.
gap na kailangang
Yes.
aralin ng mga estudyante once they get back to our face-to-face education ulit. Kaya nga, kanina na pag-usapan na po natin yung anong dapat gawin ni parents, ano ang dapat gawin na ni teacher. Medyo lumawak tayo sa macro. How about the educational system and the government? What do you think should be done so that we can have more literate na mga estudyante in science and in other subjects as well?
Okay. So, meron akong sagot dyan na Dr. Z. So, maybe nakakalimutan natin yung concept of kapwa. No? Ipasok natin ang culture. Okay? No? Dr. Virgilio Enrique's concept of kapwa is shared identity. Pag meron tayong shared identity, we can move forward kasi pareho tayong iniisip. And this is for me, this is my take. Pag wala tayong concept ng kapwa, how can we strengthen compassion, empathy, and kindness? No? So maybe that is the overarching concept ba?
Yes, Doc Bray, kaso we have this, sabi ko nga sa chat box, we have this regional version of what kapwa is So we are just really proud of our region, but the nationalistic, hindi siya lumalawak, hindi siya masyadong nagtatranslate.
Oo, yun nga, dapat yan, no? If it's only localized, then there's no shared identity. Shared identity is supposed to be collective.
Wider.
No? Yes, no? And dapat siguro meron tayong kapwa literacy. Kung meron science literacy, meron kapwa literacy. Kasi pag wala tayong concept of culture, no? Sa ESTA mahalaga ang concept of culture. If you allow me to, Sir Alfons, I salute Sir Alfons kasi ipinasok ang culture. Importante 'yun eh. Dadagdagan ko, cultural intelligence. No, mahalaga ang CQ. Meron tayong EQ, emotional intelligence, IQ, meron. Pero yun lang pa. What of the cultural intelligence? And cultural intelligence is respecting diversity, no? And meron man tayong hindi pagkakaunawaan sa gobyerno. But take note, gusto kong ipasok ang principle of utilitarianism. Principle of utilitarianism, no? Is, we have to work for the greatest number, no? Bringing the concept of kapwa, shared identity, and, cultural intelligence. Okay, this one are the basic things in life. But, ironically, no, people fail because we tend to forget to follow the basic things. Balik tayo sa basics. Like for example, itong COVID, di mawala-wala. Bakit? We don't follow minimum health protocols. Physical distancing, washing of hands, wearing of masks.
Yes.
We really do that.
Doc Bray, yung baha, lagi na lang may baha.
Exactly.
Tatanda
Isa pa
tayo,
yun.
may baha pa din.
Diba?
Ano ba yan?
Yung pagtapon lang ng basura, very basic yun. Hindi natin mag-auway. Bakit? Di ba? Okay, so yes, it starts for me. It starts with shared identity. We are, di ba nga, we heal as one, yung sinasabi. Let's walk the talk. No, yung heal as one, and everything will follow. Okay, so yun.
Hello po, ayan.
Ay,
Tatanungin
si
niyo
Sir
ba
yan, si
ako?
Prof.
So,
Alfons.
mahirap,
Yes,
mahirap
actually,
yung
yes.
mahirap yung tanong actually, no? And then that's a good input, no, yung kapwa concept. Ako naman hindi yun yung iniisip ko kanina. So, yung tanong kasi is parang ano nga ulit yung tanong, paano, no? How, no? Tama, no? Tama ba? How do we parang have this sense of literacy, no, in terms of the educational landscape, parang ganun, ano? I think I'm not sure if this is something na na-address fully, no? But as a science teacher, I would like to refer to myself not as an expert, no, but as someone who's really passionate about science education, no? I would like us to be more deliberate and explicit, especially with our goals. Um, Sometimes we get confused. I'm speaking to the teacher now. I'm speaking to the science teacher. Sometimes we get confused when we face our students. What is our goal? Are we targeting literacy or are we targeting STEM preparation for professionals? Kasi baka may mga teachers kasi na, ako kasi na-experience ko yun kasi I taught in a science high school. So ang STEM namin doon, ang science namin doon, ang physics namin doon, talagang, alam mo yon yung bugbugan, ika nga. Oo, pero you go back to that core, no? That, and it has to be deliberate and explicit. What is that goal? Is it literacy? Kasi if it's literacy, then you can look at the essential content and then the science process skills. So, hindi kailangan ma-tick off the checklist, all the content. Alam mo yon yung terms, hindi naman kailangan lahat ng bata alam yun eh. Pero yung essential content, yung essential understanding of content, and then yung science process skills, no? Meron akong laging ginagawa pag ako ay nagto-talk sa mga teachers. Gusto kong i-share. I ask them to think of or imagine something, no? Like, for example, they're in their house and then there's a table and then I'm going to describe something on the table, no? So, and then when I describe that something, I want them to tell me what they're thinking. So usually ganon. So like, for example, I start off with white. So it's colored white. So then they will, they will answer. Basta nasa kusina yung lamesa, ganyan. White, and then I tell them it's solid. And then later on, I tell them it's crystalline, it's powdered, etc., etc. And then they tell me it's sugar, it's salt, yung mga ganong stuff. And then I always tell them, I actually don't care if it's salt or sugar. But I would like to know, how would you know that you are correct? How would you know that it's salt or sugar? And I think questions like that will allow them to think. For example, one of the best ways to know if it's salt or sugar, di ba, syempre to burn it, no? Kasi if it changes its color, no, it's actually organic, may sugar. Parang ganun, ano. So basically, our students are taught what organic compounds are in class, di ba? Pero that particular scenario, you are asked to bring that understanding to the scenario. Sabi niya, kung sugar po yan, pag sinunog ko, magka-caramelize yan kasi organic siya, pag salt, hindi. So that stems beyond di ba? Na kasi sa eskwelahan, pag tinanong mo, okay, number 1, what is an organic compound? Number 2, what is, so parang feeling ko ganoon, no? Yung dapat klarado sa atin yung ating rason kung bakit natin ito pinipiling ituro or bakit natin to pinipiling ipa-experience. So kasi kung STEM for professionals yan, kung maging engineer, di syempre bubuga ng calculus talaga dyan. Di ba, Doc Bry? Yung mga ganong stuff. Pero it goes back to that the purpose of these things.
Grabe, nung sinabi mong number 1 question, medyo kinabahan ako ng konti kasi parang ganun yung aking experience in the past. That's why I would say that science and math are too difficult na mga subjects. So kailangan talagang matanggal yung ganong klase ng mga stigma. Yes.
May i-add ako sa sinabi ni Sir Alfons. Maganda yun eh. So, and siguro ang tanong, what is our high level of priority ba? No? Yung problema na to, let's say whether it be in the government, be it in the teacher education, teaching and learning, science literacy, balikan natin yung kay Jacques Delors, nakakalimutan natin ang prof, no? Learning to be, learning to know, learning to do, learning to live together. No, again, balikan, basics yun eh. Those are the basic things, no? And meron pang isa, yung 5th pillar, which is what? Transformative, no? Transformative learning. Okay? So, isa yun, ano? And pangalawa, meron akong gustong banggitin, no, kay Steinberg et al., which is collective learning theory. Sa collective learning theory kasi, meron tayong tinatawag na collective attention. No? Yung bang, when you say collective learning theory, alam dapat ng lahat. Pag sinabing scientifically literate, this is collective learning theory. Let's say, for example, alam natin para saan ang sabon, ang shampoo, alam natin kung ano yung sinasabi yung kanina, yung advertisement, ano? Oo, di ba? Okay, now, hindi lang doon nagtatapos yung collective attention. Kasi if there's collective attention, meron tayong tinatawag na, cognitive alignment. No? Pag meron tayong collective, alam natin ang problema. Okay? So solution na natin. Yung solution na yun, cognitive alignment. At pag merong cognitive alignment, diyan papasok ang social cohesion. Social cohesion, belongingness, relatedness, di ba? And it does not end there. Pag meron na tayong social cohesion, what is the end product? Cognitive collaboration. Because we know all. No? So sa tingin ko yan ang dapat solusyonan, and we also have to look at the Philippine professional standards for teachers.
Yes.
Oo, no? So we have, kung ako yan, no, lagyan natin ng collective learning theory ang TPST. Lagyan natin ng collective learning theory ang institutions, ang government, ang DepEd, ang CHED. And tignan ko lang kung hindi tayo mag-prosper, no? Oo. And everything comes in between. No? Those theories of self-determination, self-regulation, intrinsic motivation, andyan lahat. It all comes into play and it all comes into place. No? Oo.
Yes, pero sa atin sa Philippines, no, Doc Bry, yung kay Maslow, ganap na talagang damang-dama mo pa rin kasi yung pinakauna, hindi tayo makahakbang eh.
Yes.
That's one of the reasons din kung bakit, diba, hindi tayo
Kasi
makaakit
fixed
sa mga
tayo
susunod
eh.
na
Yung fixed
steps.
mindset eh. Dapat nga, dapat yung growth mindset eh.
Yes, opo. Actually, ang sarap nila maging teacher. Pwede po bang pa-sit in sa mga classes ninyo?
Pwede,
Doc Shine,
Paki-invite naman kami dyan.
Ay, sorry.
Yes, Sir Alfons.
nung binanggit mo yung Maslow's concept, no, I remember that kasi sa STS, sa Science, Technology and Society, kasi one of the problems that we often look into is yung pollution problems natin. And I often tell my students that this is not just a scientific problem, this is not just an economic problem, it's actually a multi-sectoral problem.
Yes,
And then,
political pa.
Oo, talagang multi-sectoral talaga siya, no? Lahat, kumbaga may buy-in lahat
Yes.
sa problemang ito. And then one aspect kasi of pollution, for example, or the use of single-use plastics, one factor is really poverty, no? Because of, like the sachet culture is really poverty anchored, no? So, nung sinabi mo yun, totoo yun, no? Kasi if people can go beyond those levels, yung primary levels ng hierarchy of needs, then doon nila maiisip, no, I need to take care of my environment. Na I need to live as a better citizen of this country or whatever. I need to vote properly, mga ganong stuff. But before I go to that level, I need to satisfy myself first.
Oo.
You know, physiologically. Diba? Kasi
Totoo.
I cannot buy the big shampoo, no? That's why I buy the
sachet.
Oo, and sachet culture is actually a very, well, hindi talaga siya maganda kasi yung sachets talaga, these are actually, hindi na siya talaga pwedeng ayusin later on, di ba? Yung unlike the other plastics na mayroon pa tayong pwedeng paggamitan noon later on. So, ang hirap-hirap niya talagang isipin. Although sometimes naman binibigyan ko ng disclaimer kasi baka isipin ng mga estudyante na masyado naman siyang anti-poor, mga ganon. Pero oo, anti-poor yung sinasabi niya. Pero sabi ko hindi naman ako anti-poor, pero I want you to realize na dapat tulungan natin silang makaangat dun sa levels na yun para sila din mismo will help us solve those problems.
And if they will think about it,
Yeah.
it's more mura kaysa bumili ka ng mga tingin.
Yes.
Yeah, diba? So, yun yung dapat din natin mapaisip sa kanila. Yes.
Naalala ko yung sinabi ni ay sorry.
Go lang po, Doc Rai.
Yung sinabi ni Lao Tzu, di ba sabi niya, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. So, di ba? Galing yan. Di ba? And again, you know, gusto kong gamitan ng virtue ethics. Doon pa rin di ba? The virtue of fortitude, the courage to have the growth mindset in order to, I don't want to use the word change, but I know in science, nothing is permanent except change. But when we talk about behavior, I want to use the word improvement. Let's have some self-improvement. Diba? Ayaw ba natin mag-improve? Diba?
Yeah.
And of course, again, the virtue of temperance, everything has to be in moderation. Hindi kulang, hindi sobra. And the duty of justice. Yung pagtapon ba ng basura kung saan-saan, makatarungan ba yun? That's why we're experiencing, hindi nga tayo climate change, ngayon climate crisis na nga tayo.
So it's really about becoming a responsible na citizen din
Oo.
So it's really all about that eh.
Right.
Na dapat talaga natuturo at an early age, tapos papasok na naman dyan si
Yeah.
parents, si family, si microsystem, si
Oo.
macrosystem and all.
Kaya mahalaga yung kay Yuri Bronfenbrenner's bioecological systems theory.
Hindi ko
Tingnan
kasi
natin.
natarakan si Doc Bray. Dapat lahat ng mga theories na mga sinabi. Nakalimutan ko kasi Sir Jerry eh. Pasensya ka Sir Jerry ah. Kasi kung sinabi mo talaga agad sa akin, nagsabi sana ako kung sino si mga citations. Pasensya ka na ha. Hindi ko nagawa ng paraan yan ha. Kasi dito na tayo kay Bronfenbrenner. Okay.
Grabe yung role natin no
Oo.
as educators no from what they are sharing to us na parang we should like teach our students not only to be like citizens lang na on their like small yung small environment, but we have to be citizens of the world. Ganun yung pang natin para damay
Oo nga
lahat,
eh.
diba, no?
Kaya lang kasi kung babalik tayo kay Maslow, wala na. So iisipin natin na ito kasi yung pinanggagalingan ng tao eh. So bakit nila iisipin yung iba kung hindi na nga sila nakakakain, kung wala sila yung mga physiological needs.
Exactly.
Diba? Kaya nga ang tanong ko dito sa dalawang to eh, paano kaya tayo magbibigay ng something or suggestion sa government? Paano kaya natin mabibigyan siya ng paraan? Diba? Kaso ang hirap nga po talaga sagutin ng tanong na yun. Yes po, Dr. Bray.
Ang dami kong listahan pagdating sa, sorry, pero marami. Oo, no? Pero anyway, so ayun, no? So kasi kaya nga 'di ba dapat 'di ba pag nagturo tayo, hindi dapat information overload eh. Tanong natin, no? How can we make sense of our learners' performance? 'Di ba? What do we do with their learnings, no? And so that paglabas nila, for example, sa mga estudyante natin, pag naging guro sila, paglabas nila, how can they face the real world situation and how can they cope with the real mess situation? And tinuturo
Yes, Doc Bray, philosophy, Doc Bray. What is your philosophy?
Exactly. No? So make life simple. Diba? Make learning fun. Life is maiksi lang ang buhay. No? Complicated na nga. Gawin pa ba natin complex? These are the complexities of life wherein we have to simplify it. And we have to go back to the basics. No? And let's biologize it, let's put chemistry, let's put physics, no? And everything in between. Okay. So, yeah.
Ang ganda nun. Talagang integrative talaga tayo sa afternoon na to, no? Sir Alfons, no? Masarap po kayong maging teacher sa totoo lang. However, kailangan na po nating mag-icebreaker dahil 5:23 na. And so, ano bang icebreaker natin ngayon, Ma'am Lisa? Para naman medyo ma-relax ng konti at mga brain cells. Okay.
Tsaka, excited na I'm sure yung mga nanonood sa atin sa Facebook Live and here in the Zoom for our icebreaker. So, the title of our icebreaker is, it's Fact or Bluff. So for those who want to participate, you just put thumbs up pag fact, tapos syempre thumbs down pag bluff. Okay, so sige. Ready na ba ang lahat? Yan, syempre kasali rin sila, sir. All right, so let's proceed to our first question.
Alam niyo po to eh.
Okay. First natin question is, the Eiffel Tower can be 15 centimeters taller during the summer. Is it fact or bluff? Ayan, tingnan natin. Ano kaya ang mga sagot?
Wala pang sumasagot sa chat box.
Tingnan natin sa chat box. Sino ang
wala
brave
pa rin
soul?
sa Facebook? Wala pa rin.
Baka naman ginugal. Joke.
Expansion ba yun?
Okay. Ang hirap daw, sabi ni Sir Jerry. Reveal natin ang answer. The answer is...
Ayan.
It's a fact.
It's a fact. So it says here, when a substance is heated, its particles move faster and take up more space. This is known as thermal expansion. A drop in temperature, on the other hand, causes it to contract again. This effect is most noticeable in gases, but it also occurs in liquids and solids such as iron. As a result, large structures such as bridges are designed with expansion joints that allow them to expand and contract without causing damage. Wow, ngayon ko lang din nalaman yun.
Meron akong
Hindi ko alam
comment
yung
dyan.
thermal expansion. Hindi ko
Meron
na
akong comment
ma-review.
dyan.
Yes po.
No? Oo, ganito yan eh. You know, from a medical perspective, physiologic perspective, pag mainit, pag summer, no? Ngayon ko kasi nakita ko tong Eiffel Tower. Pag mainit, pag summer, yung ating blood vessels nagva-vasodilate, nag-expand. So same thing yung the principle Kasi nagva-vasodilate kaya tayo nagva-blush, no? Tapos pag malamig, kagaya niya, this effect noticeable gases contract again. Pag malamig, our blood vessels vasoconstrict. So, yes, so si Gustave Eiffel lang build niya na. Pero ayun,
Yes.
so the
Yes.
concept of that.
Saka merong isang observation na pwedeng makita ng mga bata readily, especially if yung mga bata natin walks from their homes to school. So they can observe that yung mga kable ng kuryente, they sag during summer because of expansion.
Interesting.
If they're observant, mas yung mga kable ng kuryente natin nagsasag sila during summer kasi nag-expand.
Kaya pala dito sa
Wow.
condo, sa baba, yung mga wires, ganun eh.
Pero ibang usapan po yung sobrang daming wires.
Iba pala yun.
Iba pa yun.
Iba pala yun.
Iba pala.
Sige. Let's have the second question.
So, di ba may additional info pa?
Yun nga, di ba? So ayaw talaga, sabi natin, icebreaker na hindi pa din sila pumapayag. Sige, Venus is the only planet to spin counterclockwise. It is a fact or a bluff? Reveal answer? The answer is no. Our solar system began as a swirling cloud of dust and gas that eventually collapsed into a spinning disk centered on the sun. As a result, their shared origin, all of the planets orbit the sun in the same direction and on roughly the same plane, except for Uranus and Venus. They all spin in the same direction, that's counterclockwise if viewed from above. Uranus spins on its side while Venus spins defiantly in the opposite direction. So the most likely cause of these planetary anomalies is a collision with a massive asteroid in the distant past. Nice. That is another information na nadadagdag sa atin. So let's have the third question.
Okay, for our third question, Vatican City is the smallest country in the world. So is it a fact or a bluff?
Reveal answer?
Ayan. So Vatican City is the world's smallest country by landmass, measuring only 0.2 square miles or nearly 120 times the size of Manhattan. Vatican City 2-mile border with Italy is located on the western bank of the Tiber River. Vatican City, the official seat of the Catholic Pope since 1377, was not declared an independent state until the Lateran Treaty of 1929. Ayan.
Okay,
So, new
another
knowledge
fact.
naman.
Next question.
Next.
Stomach acid is strong enough to dissolve stainless steel. Is it a fact or a bluff? Okay, so tignan natin ang sagot. It is true. Food is digested in your stomach by highly corrosive hydrochloric acid with a pH of 2 to 3. This acid also attacks the lining of your stomach, which defends itself by secreting an alkali bicarbonate solution. The lining still needs to be replaced on a regular basis, and it completely renews itself every 4 days. Tama si Jomer dito sa ating chat box. Good job. Okay.
Meron akong dagdag
Next question. Ay, may dagdag na naman kaalaman. Kuya Kim, okay po.
So dapat kakain, no? So
Apa.
yes, 3 square meals a day kasi meron tayong dalawang ulcer. Meron tayong gastric ulcer at saka duodenal ulcer, no? And pag ang ulcer ay nabutas ang ating bitok, ang ating tiyan, no? Meron tayong stomach guarding, naninigas ang tiyan at pwede tayong magka-melena. Melena is the passage of black stools. Pag black stools, tawag doon melena, no? Ang bleeding no nasa itaas ng ating bituka. Pag hematochezia naman, meron tayong fresh blood, no? Ibig sabihin noon ang bleeding ay nasa lower, ang tawag doon, lower gastrointestinal bleeding. Kaya dapat wag
With right amounts, no, Doc Bri, yung pagkain.
Yes, oo.
Yes.
Huwag magpapalipas ng
Yes,
gutom.
wag magpapalipas. Oo. So, yun lang po.
Salamat po sa karagdagang kaalaman.
Yes. Ayan, susunod. Polar bears are nearly undetectable by infrared cameras. Is it a fact or bluff? Ayan, tingnan natin. And then, answer reveal na tayo. Ayan, it's a fact. Thermal cameras detect heat loss as infrared, but polar bears are experts at heat conservation. A thick layer of bubbler under the skin keeps the bears warm. With a thick fur coat on top of that, they can withstand even the coldest Arctic day. Ayan.
Yes, kaya pala. Okay lang sila doon. Chill lang
Yes.
sila doon. Okay, so let's have the next question. It takes 8 minutes, 19 seconds for light to travel from the sun to the earth. Answer reveal. So it is correct. So the sun travels at the speed of light. Photons emitted from the sun's surface must traverse the vacuum of space to reach our eyes. Light travels at the speed of 300,000 kilometers per second in space. Even at this breakneck speed, it takes a long time to travel the 150 million kilometers between us and the sun. And 8 minutes is still a long time in comparison to the 5.5 hours it takes the sun's light to reach Pluto. Ang tagal, ang layo. Okay. Na-realize ko lang, Doc Red, tsaka Sir Alfons, kasi dahil nasa inclusivity na ako, porket daw maitim at maliit ay tinanggal daw sa pamilya ng solar system. Yun daw ang sinabi ni Pluto. Kawawa naman daw siya. Kaya naman, doon na tayo sa next slide.
Ayan, Hawaii moves 1 centimeter closer to Alaska every year. Is it a fact or bluff? Sige, tingnan natin. And then, it's actually a bluff. So Hawaii moves 7.5 centimeter closer to Alaska every year. The Earth's crust is divided into massive chunks tectonic plates. These plates are constantly moving, propelled by upper mantle currents. Hot, less dense rock rises before cooling and sinking, creating circular convection currents that act like giant conveyor belts, gradually shifting the tectonic plates above it. So Hawaii is located in the center of the Pacific Plate, which is slowly drifting northwest towards the North American Plate, eventually returning to Alaska. The speed of the plates is comparable to the rate of which our fingernails grow. Ay, ganun pala. Grabe new learning again. Ayan. Sige, ang next. Ay, sorry. Ayan.
Yeah, so ito kasi sinabi ko nga kanina, kapag alam mo ang principle ng questions, alam mo agad yung sagot. However, hindi na namin nagawan siya ng paraan to change it. So bananas are not radioactive. So it is sesame. Anyway, next slide. Siyempre, alam mo na hindi, di ba? So bananas are radioactive. They have naturally high potassium levels and a small portion of all potassium is radioactive. That's why kapag gagawa ka talaga ng questions, dapat alam mo talaga yung principles in taking this. So each banana has the ability to emit radiation of a milliramp. This is a very low level of radiation. This is milliramp. Okay, tama kaya yung sinabi ko niya. I am wondering. Yes daw, sabi ni Sir Alfons. Salamat naman. And so let's move on to the next slide.
Ayan, humans have inherited genes from other species. So is it a fact or bluff? Ayan, tingnan natin. So answer reveal, yes, it is a fact. So up to 145 genes in our genome have been mutated from bacteria, fungi, and other single-celled organisms and viruses.
Interesting yun.
Wow.
Nice.
That's why DNA is universal. So lahat tayo meron.
Yes, tama po.
And banana pala, I forgot to mention, banana contains tryptophan, which is converted to serotonin. And serotonin is
galing talaga niya.
Okay.
Iba talaga si
That's why I have to science
Ngayon, alam mo na. Diba?
So, magandang kumain talaga ng saging.
Yes.
Ganun ba
Oo,
yan?
Yes.
pampatulog.
Doc Bry, everyday
Pampatulog,
pwede.
correct.
Pampatulog.
Ah, talaga?
Oo, pampatulog.
Pampaantok
Anong
pala, sorry.
klase?
Pampaantok.
Actually, pampaantok. Kasi serotonin is a sleep hormone. So, it,
Klase, Doc Bry, regardless.
regardless, regardless.
Saba, lakatan, senyorita.
Yes. And it makes you calmer. No? Oo, kasi because of the level of serotonin that helps.
Yun pala
Otherwise,
yun.
Ako naman, ang
That's
gusto
also
kong
the reason
sabihin,
pala
ay
pag
sorry,
inaantok ako, Sir Alphonse. Yung
Oo.
si breakfast ko, Sir Alphonse.
banana.
Naantok
Oo.
ako.
Ako yung
Yes.
gusto kong sabihin doon kanina, gusto ko ma-realize ng tao kasi people are afraid of the concept of radiation.
Yes,
So,
yes.
oo, that's actually something na we have to, clarify with people that we eat
misconception.
like we eat banana with radiation. There's radon gas. There's, di ba? Then we get a lot of radiation from natural sources. So
Yes.
parang we are swimming in a world of radiation. So why are we afraid of
So which
that?
is okay lang, Sir
Oo.
Alphonse.
Mababa lang naman kasi yung total niya technically. Oo.
At may dagdag pa rin ako diyan. Yung
Mhm.
iba kasi natatakot magpa-X-ray every year kasi nga may radiation ganyan. No? So
Yeah.
in order for you to approximately lang in order for you to reach this level of toxicity of radiation, you have to be exposed for about 10,000 times. So siguro in our entire life naman, hindi naman tayo magpapa-X-ray ng 10,000 times, di ba?
Oo naman.
And one more thing, anong photocopying machine, wala pong radiation, di ba? Am I right, Sir Alphonse?
Doc Bry, bakit yun ang
Meron
isa sa
ba?
mga causes ng pagkakaroon ng disability, may anak na may disability kapag exposed sa radiation ng photocopying machine? With some studies po.
Oh, that I don't know, ha. But
Sorry.
I would like to equate it with epigenetics pa rin, no? Maybe hindi lang yun, maraming factors pa din. We have electromagnetic fields, we have toxicity, we have bisphenols coming from bottled waters, and a lot of factors.
And a lot more.
Yeah.
Pero may i-add si Sir Alphonse.
Yes.
Kalimutan ko yung sabihin ko. Pero, hindi,
Dun sa
yung
photocopying machine.
Yung kasi, yung technically parang it goes back to the definition of radiation, no? Pag radiation kasi, we're talking about a stream of energy, no? So it can be different forms. It can be energy from gamma rays, X-rays, or whatever, or those that are non-ionizing, no? If the radiation is non-ionizing, usually the effects are more of pagtaas ng temperatura ng tissue or erythema, pamumula, no? So for example, yung bigay ko na lang kasi I've not studied photocopying machines, no? So pero yung isa sa mga pwede ko sigurong i-relate to provide the base, no, the content base is when you use cell phones, no? Kasi yung cell phones kasi non-ionizing radiation din yung nakukuha nyo. 'Di ba usually when you talk for like an hour, converse with someone using your phones, mainit, no? So usually those are the effects, no? And apart from that, binanggit ni Doc Bry yung electromagnetic fields. Actually, nasa dulo siya, no, yung extremely low frequency electric and magnetic fields na may mga research before na nagsasabi that they cause cancer, etc. So until now kasi hindi pa ganun ka-conclusive din yung research on that. Pero ang sure natin ay yung mga cancerous parts ay nandun sa ionizing forms like yung dulo ng UV, 'di ba? And of course, X-rays and gamma rays. So yun po
Yun pala yun. Okay, sige. Kasi
those are the
there are a lot
mistakes
of moms di ba, na pinapaiwas sa photocopying machines kasi
Opo,
nga
opo.
it would cause daw disability and everything.
Saka yung ginagamit din na chemicals doon, nakakadagdag din yun, naaamoy nila, 'di ba?
Ayun pala.
Part din yun. So malaking So magandang
It's
aralin
not
yan.
just the radiation itself, it's also the chemicals na used na naaamoy. Siguro nahahawakan din. Yeah.
Saka heating,
okay.
'di ba? When you expose chemicals to heat, nagkakaroon ng chemical reactions. So
siguro yung research yan, yung sa mga nagpo-photocopy, meron bang best practices of photocopy? I don't know, ha? Or preventive practices. I don't know.
Pwede.
I'm just playing with my ideas, So
Pwede po,
maganda pag-aralan yan, kung anong uri ng radiation sa basically. So pero more of visible light, ultraviolet, mga ganun lang, wavelength siguro. Sige.
Okay. So is this our last question, Ma'am Lisa?
Sige, check natin. Ayan, meron pa. Teacher Z.
Helium has the
Okay.
ability to work against gravity. What is our answer here? Please reveal. When helium is cooled to near absolute zero temperature, it transforms into a superfluid, which means it can flow without friction. How cool is that? Diba? So kung cool talaga yung science, ako nga, Doc Bright, tsaka Sir Alphonse, ang naisip ko po kanina kung paano natin magiging or gagawing interesting pa ang science, which is for me, interesting naman talaga ang science, but pag gagawing interesting naman talaga, di ba? Pero I think it is about some commercials, ano? So sana may mga pa-commercial na pang bata, commercial na pang high school, ganyan, in which they're going to be interested. Tapos kung best practices sa atin, sa kanila naman sa commercial, yung mga naging mga people dito sa Philippines na naging maganda yung job nila because of their interest in science. Siguro, dapat marami tayong commercials regarding that para mas maraming ma-attract sa subject na to eh. Ayan. Kayo po, ano pong suggestion nyo doon?
Support ako.
Kasi feeling ko, tayo mga teachers kasi natin yung magagaling sa ganitong subjects. Gusto natin, diba? Pero how about you po?
Siguro let's look at the lived experiences, no? Yung mga nag-succeed. Maganda eh. Ano ba? Qualitative research about this. Asan na sila ngayon?
Tapos maybe we have to have gawad sulo to those mga graduates o kaya yung mga nagbigay ng innovation sa sciences and other related fields, diba?
Yeah.
Make it really prestigious. Something like that. Yan. Okay. So our next slide. Oh, it's already awarding of certificate. Alam niyo po ba, Doc Bri at Sir Alphonse, kayo lamang po sa 8 episodes ang nagbibigay pa ng mga information kahit na icebreaker na. Kaya congratulations po. Talaga happy po na episode na to.
Ay, hindi.
Batang
information.
Yes,
it's an added information.
Oo. Batang kasi ako, Doc.
Diba, nagsimula tayo sa saging na radioactive.
Huli na yon. Nagsimula tayo sa simula talaga. Number 1.
In fact, bago mag-start yung program, nag-uusap, nag-chat kami ni Sir Alfons, sabi ko, ang daldal natin. Hanggang dito.
Okay po yun eh. Masaya nga po itong episode na to eh. Talagang pinakamaganda kasi ito yung pinakahuli nating episode dito sa year na to, dito sa term na to. Kaya maraming salamat po. Kaya naman, ito na ating awarding of certificate. Next, please. This certificate is awarded to Sir Alfons Jayson O, Pelgone by the Philippine Normal University, the National Center for Teacher Education, College of Teacher Development, Faculty of Education Sciences, Center for Reading and Literacy, the PNU-Reading Society, for generously sharing his expertise as resource speaker on issues and research trends in science literacy, webcast and podcast activity, Usapang e-LITe, trending sa edukasyon, ating pag-usapan, held via Zoom and Facebook Live, given the 28th day of July 2002, signed by Ma'am Nancy and Sir Avenes.
Alright.
Salamat po.
Okay, so the same citation is also given to, of course, to Dr. Brian M. Limson. So congratulations sa ating guest speakers for today. So 'di ba, sobrang rich. Feeling ko pati ako ang dami ko tuloy natutunan at dami ko pang gustong alamin, 'di ba? So yan. So
para sa bayan.
Yes. Ayan, to sa ating Teacher Z. So, sige, Teacher Z, ako na muna mauna sa aking insights or we allow
natin sila.
Ang speakers, ang guest speakers natin. Siyempre,
kasi alam ko
paano
marami
natin
pa silang gustong sabihin. Kaya lang, kailangan nyo pang umuwi. Nakikita ko Sir Alphonse nasa PNU pa. So, 5:44. Diba? So, 5:44 na. So, bigyan natin sila ng last chance to create their hugot of the day. Sino pong mauna sa inyo?
Sige, all right. Okay, now for me, di ba kanina ko pa sinasabi, okay, let us biologize, scientific and everything. No, but it all boils down to one thing, our how we think, how we feel, how we behave, let us enhance our neurotransmitters. There are 5 neurotransmitters that make our world go round. Number 1 is endorphins, which is a happy hormone. Nakukuha ito through exercise, no? Galaw-galaw tayo ng konti, ano? And if there's this happy hormone, we have this, positive outlook in life. Kasama yun sa positive psychology. Number 2, no? Dopamine. If we want our goals, our aspirations to transpire, no? So maybe we have to look at into ano ba talagang gusto natin? What do we want? We have to boost up our dopamine. Nandiyan yan sa loob. Number 3, serotonin na pag-usapan na natin kanina, no? Is a mood stabilizer, no? Dapat nga nabanggit ko na rin to kanina, no? So what are the natural ways in order to boost up our serotonin? We have to science our push cart. Hindi lang saging, no? Papaya, fish, tofu, egg, pineapple, nandyan lang. We have to science our push cart because if we have this the milk also, milk, no? Because this products contain tryptophan, which is converted to serotonin. Pag meron tayong serotonin, it stabilizes our mood. And number 4, yung concept ng kapwa, caring, being compassionate, let's boost our level of oxytocin. Oxytocin is not only responsible for uterine contractions and milk release, it is also the love hormone. Pag meron tayong love hormone, we're willing to listen to understand. We have this concept of kapwa, no? We have this shared identity, no? Sana all, siguro we will be able to meet human flourishing. Okay? And then yung panlima, cortisol. In life, we needed a little push, a little konting stress lang. Yung eustress, no? Kasi itong eustress na to, it allows us para bumangon, to get motivated, intrinsically motivated to act on things, no? And in order for us to do things that are right, no? And of course, yung panghuli, no? Let us promote science literacy, no? For the greater good, for the greatest number, and everything will follow. So yun lang.
Wow, wonderful. Palakpak talaga si Sir Alfons. Yes, okay.
Ang ganda ng
ikaw
ending ni
Sir
Doc
Alfons.
Bry, yung greatest good in the greatest something like that. Ang ganda nun.
So how can we top that, di ba?
Oo, syempre wala akong maisip masyado. Joke lang po. I would just mention something that I always tell my students, no? Kasi I also get to meet other undergraduate and even graduate students who don't have the science specialization, no? But I hope may mga nanonood ditong teachers and pre-service teachers. So hello po sa inyong lahat. I would just want to remind everybody na no matter what specialization you are in, no matter what major you think you have, we are all science teachers. We are all science teachers. I would like to emphasize that because we are teaching, well, I would like to put an underscore to that kasi tandaan natin what science is content, yung baka yung alam natin, yung proseso, and more importantly, the mindset. And beyond that, it's the skills that we are able to teach, being able to observe, to think critically, make informed decisions, etc. So we are all science teachers, no? We are all science teachers po. Yun lang po, and sana tulong, kasi lahat tayo science teachers. So ang science literacy, hindi lang trabaho ng mga science teachers. Trabaho natin lahat yun. Yun lang po.
Nice. It's the same as yung reading is not just for reading teachers. It's the same as values is not only for values teachers. It's really our job, all of us teachers, to really teach kung ano ba yung tamang way kung paano maging adult or paano maging human. Actually, yun yung aking hugot, Ma'am Lisa, dahil mauuna na pala ako, no? So, ang hugot ko kasi for this afternoon and also for the entire episodes nitong Usapang eLITe, financial, media, digital literacy, and everything else. I think all sciences, let it be social sciences or nasa allied medical sciences and everything else, it teaches us to become more human. So, hindi talaga siya yung field na kailangan mo talagang maging highly cognitive, but it also, having that cognitive mind will also push you to have that affective na mindset then, or affective mind. Yung EQ, tinututunan nating IQ at saka yung CQ all together for us to become really human. So ang hugot ko dito is how can we become a good citizen of the country and a good citizen of the world. So yun ang aking hugot dito sa buong episode na to. Kaya naman, Ma'am Lisa, it's your turn.
Wow, grabe, no? With all the things that I've learned today, very interesting. Yung isang thing na talagang nag-struck sa akin is we are all perpetual learners. We never stop learning. So, itong thing na to na natutunan natin ngayon, it will also encourage us to even learn more. So, as human beings, we are perpetual learners. So, sana ganun din, the same passion that we would want to learn, i-translate natin yan sa ating mga estudyante. And with that, we have to create meaningful experiences to them para nga maging fun, para maging interactive,
Yes.
para mag-gets nila bakit nga ba to pinag-aaralan.
Nasa bahay
So,
man or
yun.
nasa school na setting, kahit anong setting man
Yes.
yan. Kahit nasa
Yes.
grocery, pwede kayo mag-science class diba?
Yes.
As a
Diba?
mom and kid, diba? Yes, okay. So I would like to first thank you sa everyone who supported Usapang eLITe from the first episode up to the last episode. Yung Reading Society, si Dr. Abenes, ang aming ASOC Dean sa Faculty of Education Sciences, mga guests, mga hosts, yung mga staff ng reading. Ako magagaling tong mga batang to eh. So ang galing na nila gumawa ng mga editing and everything else. So congratulations sa lahat. Sir Jerry, si Ma'am Nancy, si Ma'am Laarni, and si Ma'am Rachel, thank you sa inyong lahat. Kaya naman, please turn on your cameras, mag-picture tayong lahat. Ayan. Alright. So pwede na nating tanggalin yung pin so makikita natin lahat.
Okay, so mag-take ako ng picture ha. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, isa pa. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Last one. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so thank you very much.
For more information po sa mga susunod na mga episodes, tingnan na lang po natin itong Facebook page ng ating Usapang eLITe. We are also going to create a website simula sa episode 1 hanggang 8 para sa mga pre-service teachers na magte-take ng Prof. Ed 10. Kaya sa mga host natin, sa mga speakers natin, mapapanood talaga po ito ng lahat ng mga estudyante natin sa PNU kasi lahat sila magte-take ng Prof. Ed 10 eh. Ganun po yun. Okay. Kaya naman, Sir Jerry, Ma'am Lisa, maraming salamat po everyone. And ito na po ang aming huling episode para sa Usapang eLITe. Okay, so sabi naman po ni Sir Jerry, you may also view the whole episodes pati na rin po sa CRL YouTube or sa Center for Reading Literacy YouTube account. So thank you so much. Have a nice afternoon, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Booster
Bye,
shots
thank
po
you.
tayo.
Yeah. Justin, slides.
To receive your certificates of participation, please answer the evaluation form available in the pinned comment in the Facebook Live's comment section. Thank you and see you in the next episode.
sure.